Morning everyone. Today I'll be discussing about the biomechanics and the injury patterns in the golf sport. So, the first games of modern golf was played in Scotland in Kingdom named Fife. King James IV is considered as the first authenticated player of the real golf. The British Amateur Championship was started in 1860, and the first official US Open was held in 1895. In the 1990s, it was the era of Nicklaus' dominance, Palmer's popularity, and Hogan's precision. However, in the year 1997, 21-year-old Tiger Woods he won the Masters by a record score of 270 and margin of 12 strokes. He was the first to hold all the four major professional titles simultaneously. This is an accomplishment regarded as one of the greatest feats in all the professional sports history. So, golf in India was introduced by the British. India was the first country outside Great Britain to adopt golf as sport. The first golf club was the Royal Calcutta Golf Club, founded in 1829. It hosted the National Level Golf Championship in 1892. It's the second oldest tournament in the world. So India currently has 186 registered golf courses. The revenue generated is around 180 to 800,000 dollars per year. And Indian Golf Union is making earnest efforts to improve the standard of the game in the country. Some of the renowned golf players that we know are Jyoti Singh Randhawa, Jeev Milkha Singh, Anirban Lahiri, and Arjun Singh Atwal. So the golf course, this is the aerial view of an 18-hole golf course. So each of this hole either has a straight strip or a bend. It's called as the dog bend towards the left or the right, depending on the curve. And each of this strip has a starting point called the tee box, where the golf ball is placed on the tee and it is driven with a driver club. So as the ball advances towards the putting green, the pathway is called the fairway, where the grass is trimmed to allow easy maneuverability of the ball. The area around the fairway is called the rough, where the grass is unmanicured and left taller, and it is difficult to maneuver from this area. So the other tricky situations in the pathway are the bunkers, which are the naturally or man-made hollowed out areas filled with sand or similar material. Or sometimes we get to see hazards like the water. So the aim of the game is to drive the ball towards the putting green. So the putting green has a short carpet-like grass which helps in easing maneuverability of the ball into the golf hole. So the golf ball has a mass of 45.93 grams and a diameter of 42.67 millimeters. The number of dimples varies around 300 to 500 based on the model and the manufacturer. The depth is roughly around 0.01 inch and helps achieve the spin and the swerve required for the game. So there is no regulation on number or the size of the dimples. So why does golf ball has dimple? So when we strike a smooth ball into the air flows smoothly around the ball and separates quickly, thereby creating a vortex of vacuum behind the ball. It's called that creates the drag. So when there are dimples, it creates a turbulence and pocket of air around the ball, and the delayed separation of the air from the ball is delayed. So we have smaller vortex, which creates lesser drag. And then even the spin has a role in its slide. So when there is a backspin on the ball, the airflow on top gets dragged along with the sleeve of air around the ball towards the behind of the ball downwards. The airflow which is on the bottom gets nullified by the opposite direction of the spin. So there is a net air force which is directed downwards on the ball and an equal and opposite Magnus force which helps in the lift of the ball. So describing the golf clubs, it has a grip, shaft, and the head. So the head has following features: a heel which connects it to the hosel. It has a face which faces the ball. There is a sole onto which it lands on the ground. There's a toe end of the golf club and a crown. So the material have been evolved from wooden to various metal and metal alloys and to now carbon fiber and higher flexible materials. So the standard club length for drivers was 43 inches. Currently it is 45 inches. And player is allowed to carry only 14 clubs. And the different clubs are the first club used as a driver from the tee box towards the putting green. And then along the fairways, they either use fairways or hybrids for longer shots. And when they need a height or a lofty shot, they use irons or the wedges. And once the ball reaches the putting green, they use the putters to pocket the ball into the hole. So studies have shown that the single most important factor in creating distance is not the length of the shaft, but rather the golfer's ability to hit the ball on the sweet spot of the club's face. So coming to the setup, the player first he adjusts his posture. So both the feet shoulder width apart, knee flexed around 30 degrees, hips drawn back, back should be kept straight, and both the arms should be held straight at the elbows in a relaxed manner. So this helps him in placing the club on the ground close to the ball. So it is important to note that the posture of the player is more important than the distance from the club and the ball. Sorry, the feet and the ball. And the adjustments are made accordingly after adjusting the posture. So placing the club should be that the sole of the foot is parallel to the ground so that they achieve an ideal stroke in the direction of their intent. If it is too upright, where the sole is placed very close or the hosel is placed close to the ground, we get a shot which goal takes the ball more to the left. Or if it's too flat, where the toe end of the golf club touches the ground, the shot is too flat and the ball is driven outward. So movement of players. So players walk up around the 13,000 steps in an 18-hole course, which covers around 3.4 miles, and they carry their golf clubs either in a carry bag or a push cart, or sometimes they use a cart to travel around the golf course. So game of golf is being described here. It starts from the tee box, where using a driver, they strike the ball. They achieve a distance of around 150 to 200 yards. And when the ball is in the fairway, they use either fairways or hybrids, or depending on the situation, they can use iron or the wedges to drive the ball towards the putting green. In the putting green, they use a putter and try to pocket the ball, where they have to calculate the inclination and all the conditions, which is more of a mind game. So depending on the length of the hole is designated as a par 5 or a par 3 or a par 4 hole. So depending on number of strokes that the player uses to achieve this hole, the scoring is given. So if he completes a par 5 hole in 5 shots, a score is 0. If he completes in 4 shots, it's given as -1. -1 is considered as a birdie. Similarly, if he gets a score of -2, it's eagle. -3 is double eagle, and -4 is ace. That is, the shot is completed in one shot. If he exceeds the par number, then based on the number he achieves, it's called a bogey, double bogey, or a triple bogey. So like this, for all the 18 holes, the scores are calculated, and a player with maximum negative scoring will be considered the good player. And usually the average players who use a lot of stroke plays to complete their holes will have a lot of positive scores. So coming to who play golf, it's a popular sport played for around by more than 50 million in over 200 countries. It has no sex, skill, or age limits. Higher in middle-aged and older adults. There was a survey conducted as to why more middle-aged and elderly played golf, and they found out that the main reasons were to socialize and enjoy the pleasant playing environment. It had a low impact and a general aerobic component. It helped in their cognition and maintaining mental wellness, and to some extent to maintain the competitive spirit. Approximately 8 to 12 kilometers were covered in an 18-hole course, and 4 to 6 kilometers is covered in a 9-hole course. The golfer should walk the course rather than use a golf cart to maximize the health benefits. So demands of the game, it's a long duration of low intensity activity with short bursts of high intensity. So a round of 18 holes takes around 3.5 to 6 hours. 60% of the game is focused on setting up and performing the swing, and 25% is used in the putting. So swing is a composite movement. It requires rapid expenditure of energy. It is performed within 1.09 seconds. The club head reaches a speed of 160 kilometers per hour. A golfer performs average of 30 to 40 swings every round. In the putting, it includes a very minimal body movement, but involves great degree of sustained trunk inclination and sagittal flexion. This challenges a golfer's postural endurance. Golfers typically hit more than 2,000 balls per week, and that at an average of more than 200 balls or more per day. Coming to the biomechanics of golf swing, it's a complex movement that utilizes whole body in a coordinated fashion. So it has various components. First is the ball address, followed by backswing. Then there's a downswing, and then impact of the ball, and then the follow through. So there is an efficient transfer of energy from lower body to the muscle groups of the chest and arms, and eventually to the hand and club. So this is called as the bottom-up phenomenon. So different phases of the swing may cause different patterns of injury, which will be explained along as I describe the biomechanics. So first position is the ball address, where the player adopts an optimal pre-stroke posture. Here, as you can see in the diagram, The player has placed his feet shoulder width apart, knee flexed to 30 degrees, hips drawn backwards and back straight. So this is one of the stablest position of the human body. So that helps in maintaining the stability while the upper body focuses on the rotations. And this posture allows the golfer to generate maximal potential energy. The structures at stress due to compromised starting position are excessive loading of spine due to overextension or flexion, shoulder injuries through compression of the rotator cuff or subacromial bursa due to tight posture, potential for injury of the elbow and wrist when the head too tight, especially in the lead arm, that is the left arm. The next is the backswing. Here, the weight is shifted to the trail foot. The back and trunk remain perpendicular to the ground in the frontal plane. There should be no side bending. This is followed by trunk rotation, and the club is raised up with the lead elbow remaining straight, as seen in the diagram. So the range of backswing is adapted to individual's characteristics, the height, flexibility, and the corpulence. The dorsal shoulder instability and secondary impingement has been attributed to the maximum adduction of the leading arm that is seen in the backswing. So next is the forward swing and the ball impact. So this is a phase of acceleration where club head achieves its maximal velocity. So first the weight is shifted to the left foot now with a linear and parallel movement of hips and the shoulders. This is followed by rotation of pelvis and shoulder around the left axis, keeping the spine perpendicular to the ground. So here you can see the player on the left side in the first image. The player is trying to pivot around the right hip, which makes his left hip travel too far across. And when he tries to follow back, the left hip he's unable to clear the left hip, and this impedes his the smooth forward swing. Whereas the player on the left, he is pivoting around the axis, which is inside of the hip joint and the shoulder, and he'll be able to clear the hip and achieve a good velocity. So the muscle activity patterns is the external oblique muscles, erector spinae, right shoulder adductors, right shoulder internal rotators, wrist and hand complete the acceleration of the club at the ball impact. The whip-like action at the end is characterized by the right hand going for pronation and the left hand turning in supination. So all this muscle activity shows that there is a myofascial chain sequence of events happening. Myofascial chain was described by Mayer, where he says the adductors and rotators of the shoulder are connected to the external obliques of the abdomen, which are in turn connected to the rotators and adductors of the hip. So similarly, we have a posterior chain where we have the external rotators of the shoulder, which are connected to the muscles of the back, and which are in turn connected to the opposite hip extensors and abductors. So these myofascial chains work on the force summation principle, which has four important aspects. That is, to achieve a maximum movement, you have to gather as many muscles as possible. The sequence should be bigger to smaller, and they should be correctly timed. That is, the contraction of one muscle should be exactly at the peak of the previous muscle. So in such a case, we achieve a peak force amplitude of force. Whereas if it is either too early or too late, or any of the muscle in the sequence is not contracted properly, the peak is not achieved. So this will be compensated by the players by generating individual high muscular activity that leads to the injuries. So in this case, we can see that higher spine loading is due to reduced flexibility and strength and articular stability. And elbow and wrist injuries are seen when the trajectory is poor and the club makes contact with the ground. And when there is increased compressive forces in the hip and knee, we get osteochondral degeneration leading to osteoarthritis. So early and the late follow through, this is a natural momentum of a continuing swing. There's a progressive deceleration of the club rotation and the body towards the left around the axis of the spine. So there is a superimposed parallel rotatory motion of both hips and the shoulders, and ends when the body faces the target. So the risk of injury in this phase is if there is sudden deceleration or there is end of motion is too pronounced. The spine should be kept as vertical as possible to minimize loading in this phase. So the muscular activity is predominantly spine and the shoulders. Amongst the shoulders, in the lead arm, it is the supraspinatus and the infraspinatus that are active throughout the follow-through. In the trail arm, it is the subscapularis which is active throughout the follow-through. So important to consider certain factors like X factor. This is the difference in the turn angle between the shoulder and the hips. So if you see the first diagram, it is it's a right-handed golfer playing at the tee with the flag onto his left. So at the beginning of the ball address, both the planes of shoulder and hip are parallel to each other. And as he advances towards the backswing, he rotates his hip and shoulder differentially. The hip rotates to around 40 degrees and shoulder then rotates to around 105 degrees, creating an X factor of 65 degrees. And during the downswing, in the almost around the mid downswing, the hip begins to get back to normal as the shoulders begin to uncoil. So this creates a stretch in the X factor called the X factor stretch, and this allows development of more momentum. So at the ball contact, we have maximum momentum which is transferred to the ball, which helps in achieving farthest distance. So there was a study published in 2010 by Lindsay and Horton. They compared the spine motion in elite golfers with and without golf pain. So they concluded that golfers with low back pain tend to flex their spine and have more left side bending and have supramaximal rotation. And they proposed a concept called as lumbar crunch factor. This is an instantaneous product of the side bend angle and axial rotation velocity. So this contributes to the degenerative changes seen in the lumbar spine of the elite golfers. However, there is a lot of research work going on this, and Cole published his paper in 2014 where he told the crunch factor does not differ significantly between the golfers who have with or without back pain. So this is a slow motion video of all the phases of the swing that's explained. So following the ball address, there is the back swing, and the lead elbow is kept straight throughout the swing. That is a forward swing, ball impact, and the follow through. Coming to the injury statistics, golf can be regarded as a safe sporting activity. It accounts for 4% injuries compared to 30% in football. A survey showed that 90% recreational golfers played at least 3 times per week. The anatomical pattern is most commonly seen, the injuries are most commonly seen in the lower back, followed by the elbows and forearm, which accounts for 17%. Foot and ankle constitutes 12.9%, followed by shoulder and upper arm around 11%. The risk of injury is due to higher frequency of play, inadequate overall conditioning, poor flexibility, failure to warm up properly, poor swing mechanics, and striking the ground with a club. That is because of the poor swing. So there was a systematic review conducted in 2009 where they compared the injury rates amongst amateurs and the professionals. Amateur golfers have a rate of 1.9, 1.2 to 1.3 per golfer per year, whereas professional golfers have an injury rate of approximately 2 per year. However, the prevalence is also higher in the professionals. The pattern of injury is also different. In amateurs, they compare more of back injuries followed by elbow, wrist, and shoulder. Professionals have more of wrist and hand followed by back and shoulder. So, amongst the back pain, they can present with the facet joint irritation, lumbar muscle strain, the disc injuries, the right side spondylolysis, sacroiliac dysfunction, and these symptoms are exaggerated at the ball impact and follow through. So, average low back golf injury lasts for around 2 to 4 weeks. And the study shows that right-sided vertebral osteophyte formation and facet joint changes were higher in professional golfers. So this is a biomechanical study analyzing the loads undergone by the spine. So at the ball address, there is axial loading and forward flexion. In the top backswing, there is rotation of the spine. And in the downswing, there is a beginning of a side bending, which is more pronounced in impact. In the follow-through, there is extension and rotation. And finally, it comes back to normal. So amateurs show 80% more lateral bending and peak shear loads and 50% more torque. Hence, demonstrating that they develop back pain frequently. The elbow injuries are the second most frequent. So the medial epicondylitis, also called the golfer's elbow, it's on the inside of the elbow. It is seen in trail arm due to excessive repetitive muscular contractions, sudden deceleration, or forceful resistance on hitting the turf. The lateral epicondylitis, it's on the outer aspect of the elbow. It is seen more commonly in the leading arm due to continuous stabilizing activity of the extensors. The lateral epicondylitis is 5 times more prevalent than the medial epicondylitis in amateurs. Shoulder injuries account for around 4 to 19%. It's more commonly seen in the leading shoulder. It can be related to overuse or excessive shoulder rotations. They present in subacromial impingement, rotator cuff tendonitis, and glenohumeral arthritis. Wrist and hand injuries are due to the impingement that happens at the wrist hinge and poor gripping. So they can present with depermanent tenosynovitis, that is tendon inflammation of the first compartment tendons. They can have extensor carpalaris tendon injury, the triangular fibrocartilage complex injury, or the hook of Hammett fracture, which is all due to poor gripping. Coming to the lower limb injuries, there was one systematic review on the risk factors of knee injury published in 2017. It says that loads in the knee during golf can go up to 320 to 440 times the body weight. And the lead knee has higher exposed to higher magnitudes of stress and more complex kinematics. So they studied all the muscles acting around the knee in the posture used for the golf, and they found that the core contraction used to stabilize the knee at 30-degree flexion, that is both the flexors and extensors acting simultaneously, leads to high tibiofemoral joint forces of around 1900 newtons. So it was also found that at low flexion angle, hamstrings are ineffective in restraining the anterior tibial translation, and co-contraction contributes to greater compression of the joint. So the structures resisting the joint compression and internal rotation are susceptible to injury. These are the anterior cruciate ligament, the menisci, and the posteromedial capsule. So they also commented on return to golf after knee replacement surgery. So it ranges from 30 to 57%. Unicompartmental arthroplasty has higher rates of return. The determining factors were the knee that was injured or replaced, the golfer's technique, specific implant and its interaction with the surrounding soft tissue structures. So these were the gentlemen who got back to playing golf after the replacement surgery, and this person has both his knee replaced and is back playing golf. So this is the injury profile of the famous Tiger Woods, and he has got injury right from the neck till the ankles. In spite of all the injuries, he has come back and won the Masters in 2019 again. So key injury prevention were knee injury prevention strategies. They tried to use the shorter clubs. D. Lima et al. In 2008 found that there was no significant difference between compressive loads on the knee when using a driver or a sandwich. And tried spikeless shoes to reduce the torque experienced on the knee. Worsfold in 2010, he compared the shoes, that is classic spikes, modern spikes, and flat sole, and found that there was no significant difference in the lead foot torque. Lin et al. They published a paper in 2012 where they showed external rotation of the lead foot by 30 degrees reduces the adduction moment on the knee. And they also propose that we have to avoid fatigue by excessive walking, which leads to poor swing mechanics that leads to these injuries. However, individual analysis on each player's golf mechanics and injury risk has to be analyzed. So rehabilitation, it is focused on to avoid excessive movements and practice safe swing techniques, seek professional guidance, improve trunk rotation and flexibility, maintain hip rotation, especially on the lead side, make technical modifications as guided. So there are certain golf conditioning exercises that has to be done before entering the golf field that they suggest. This is applied even for players above 50 years of age. So first one is a seated trunk rotation, which helps in the rotation and stability of the thoracic muscles. The second one is a standing bind, which works on the upper back and the lower back muscles. The third one is hand walks, which helps in strengthening the hand as well as the coordination. Followed by 90-90 stretch, which works on both the rotators and the abductors of the hips. Then there is side plank or the side bridge, which works on the core and the external optics. The bridges, which focuses on the gluteus. And then there is the medicine ball or the gym ball push-ups to strengthen the upper limb and the girdle. And the medicine ball perpendicular and parallel throw, which works on the obliques and the core stability. There are certain golf-specific drills to be done to improve the golf technique. First one is a takeaway drill, where they use a sand wedge, they hold it in the center and tuck the grip towards their belly button. If the swing and the arm technique is correct, that the elbow is being kept straight, the grip of the club stays tucked into the stomach. But if there is any slight angle, the grip of the club just falls out in position. So this is one of the drill to improve the grip and the swing. The second drill is top of the swing drill, where sandwich is placed at the shoulder height with crossed arms, and then the trunk rotation is practiced. It has to have a stable posture and good rotation so that the grip points towards the midpoint between the feet and not on either of the foot. The third one is a left arm rotation drill, where both the hands are placed wide apart on the sand wedge, and they are rotated in a similar fashion as used in swing, so that we achieve good rotation of shoulder, keeping the elbow straight. Then there is a hand rotation drill where the sand wedge is taken from the forward to the backward in a semicircular motion. This helps in improving the wrist position while holding the club. So to summarize, the literature on golf injuries are mostly descriptive. The mechanism of golf injuries are poorly understood because of the many factors: the wide age range, the level of skill, conditions of play, and ethnicity of the players. Low back pain is most common complaint, more commonly on the right side. Shoulder problems are more common on the leading shoulder. And in elbow, lateral epicondylitis is seen in the lead arm and medial epicondylitis in the trail arm. So the take-home message is golf is a sport for all ages. The concept of overuse is more than just a number. It is related to each individual's potential and capability. The general nature of injuries is quite similar among the golfers. The combination of physical conditioning and safe golf practices reduce injuries and improves the quality of golf experience in the entire population. So this is Billy Coubert of Glasgow. He's aged 102 and is still playing golf. I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you.